Welcome to your introduction to fire safety. First thing we need to understand, and this is a question that nobody will ever ask you, but it's really useful if you want to do a pub quiz question, and that pub quiz question has to be really difficult to answer. And the question is, what is a fire? You might be thinking about flames and heat and smoke. The dictionary definition, though, is this: a fast chemical reaction between a combustible substance and oxygen, accompanied by the evolution of heat. Sounds very technical, but there's some very practical reasons why we need to be concerned about fire. So why bother with fire safety? Here's some stats then that come from Fire and Rescue Service year ending June 2019. Fire and Rescue Services in Great Britain attended 573,221 incidents, including 182,000 odd fires, 229,000 fire false alarms, and about 160,000 odd non-fire incidents within 12 months. What that means is, first of all, they're very busy. Secondly, they spend a lot of their time doing stuff that's actually not fire related. The problem with that, although it's very helpful and it's very useful, is that it often stretches resources and it puts the fire personnel and the appliances in the wrong place to respond to the next fire, the next incident. 268 fire-related deaths. What that means is we're actually pretty good at getting out. That when buildings catch fire, we're not often killed. And the main thing that's happened over the last few years that's helped that is smoke alarms, especially built-in smoke alarms now that have to be put into new buildings or into older buildings when they're actually rewired. 7,000 odd non-fatal casualties a year. They're the ones that end up in hospital from fires with burns of varying degrees. Again, not a lot considering we're looking at 182,000 odd fires. Deliberate fires, arson, was up last year to 85,256, up 16%. People setting fire to buildings, people setting fire to fields, people setting fire to wheelie bins is arson. And secondary fires up by 28%. Secondary fires are when the main fire spreads, either sparks blowing in the wind or combustible material blowing and setting fire to something else. So secondary fires up by 28%, and that was because of what the government says, the warm summer, the dry summer, making the fields and the grass really dry. I'm not sure we got much of that in the northeast. I think it's probably a down south problem, but the drier the fields get, the drier the hedges get, the more likely there is of a secondary fire. False alarms, 65% of fire false alarms were due to apparatus. That's the fire brigade speak for. The fire alarm went off accidentally. The smoke alarm activated accidentally. Over 2/3 of fire-related deaths occurred in accidental house fires, and 42% of the victims were aged 65 years or older, with men in their 80s most likely to die. This is important because a lot of the people you'll be looking after in care will be probably in that age bracket, 65 years or older, and vulnerable to fire because at 65 years or older, more likely to have movement impairment, more likely to have visual impairment, more likely to have hearing impairment, more likely to be taking medication to help them to sleep, and more likely also to have memory disorders like Alzheimer's, dementia, all of which affect their ability to get out, and of course more likely as well to be smokers. Smokers' materials caused 8% of fires, but the largest share of deaths at 34%. Cooking appliances were the source of ignition in 48% of fires and caused 51% of the casualties. Houses with no smoke alarm accounted for 36% of deaths, and nearly a fifth of deaths occurred where there was a smoke alarm, but it didn't work. So when we're thinking about these issues around fire safety, we're still talking about smoking in bed, smoking in the chair. We're still talking about chip pan fires, unfortunately. Even though people do die regularly, even though houses burn down regularly from chip pan fires, people still use them, still leave them unattended. What we hope is in these situations, they do actually have a smoke alarm. This is your introduction to fire safety. This is why we're doing it. If you now look at your PowerPoint, you'll see this slide here to have a look at again. You also run through the slides. The next slide shows you about smoke alarms, how they've actually helped, but also how they go wrong. Good luck with the rest of the course. If you've got any questions, give me a shout. Work through the activities, work through the hazard spots, and we'll see you at the end. Thank you very much.